Hi, it's Benji on Benji 84.0. This video is going to be another one about The Walking Dead, namely the character Andrea Harrison, played by Laurie Holden. I'll keep this video fairly short. It's not my only video on this channel about The Walking Dead. I've got one about Leah Shaw. It's complimentary, and I also have another one where I'm scathing about Fear the Walking Dead, The World Beyond. So go and check those out and check out all my other content while you're at it. I have, over the years, recorded several videos on The Walking Dead and a couple of its spin-offs, they've proved relatively popular. This is the third video on the subject on my channel now. Benji 84.0. It's about Andrea Harrison. I previously had a video up about Andrea and Shane. It didn't get a lot of views by the standard of my The Walking Dead videos. I'm going to go over Andrea's character again here in a little bit more detail, even though I went into detail there. So Andrea Harrison is in the show from episode 2 of the first season, Guts, all the way through until episode 16 of season 3, Welcome to the Tombs. She's also in a couple of pointless flashbacks right near the end of the show. I don't count those, they're irrelevant. There will be massive spoilers here, and you wouldn't be watching this if you didn't know the show and you didn't know what happens to Andrea. You've been warned. So Laurie Holden, who was played Andrea Harrison, Season 1 came out in 2010, Season 2 was 2011 and 2012. It was split into 2 parts, and Season 3 was also split into 2 parts, was 2012 and 2013. Laurie Holden was aged 40 to 43 when playing Andrea in those 3 seasons. Apparently Andrea was supposed to be 36 to 37. Who cares? It's irrelevant. Laurie Holden looks damn good, 40 to 43 or not. Perfect for the part. I will go into her in more detail. I'll discuss her in more detail. Andrea's in 5 episodes of season 1, basically. The second episode through to episode 6. It was a pilot season. Oh, and I watched all of these in real time. She was in all of season 2, both the first and second part, and all of season 3 until Welcome to the Tombs, when Andrea exits the show, much to my displeasure. And I have a theory, and I'm sure it's right, as to why she was written out of the show. I'm right about this sort of thing. I'm red pill. Andrea, apparently, and I didn't know this, before the zombie apocalypse, she was a civil rights lawyer. Now, bear in mind, I haven't watched the first season since it aired back in 2010. Around about 2011, I rewatched some of it in preparation for season 2. So I have not watched it in over 10 years. However, it's vivid to me, and I've done a bit of research preparing for this video. I know what I'm talking about here, though. So initially, Andrea is with Dale, who I will discuss briefly. He's not an interesting character, in my opinion. I'm just looking at my notes. In Atlanta, and Rick and Glenn meet them in episode 2. I'm not going to recount the entire show. This is about Andrea. Andrea's with her younger sister Amy. Now, Amy is Andrea's younger sister, dies in season 1, episode 4, and Andrea, I said there'd be spoilers. Andrea has to put her out of her misery in episode 5. It's right at the start of episode 5, if I remember rightly, and it's very well done. I've watched that scene twice because it really stood out to me and really stuck with me. Andrea has to put her sister Amy down when she turns into a walker in episode 5 of season 1. Now, I seem to remember Andrea initially being attracted to Rick, which is fair enough. I remember getting that impression. Now, I have learned that in the comics, Andrea and Rick actually get together and essentially married. Why anyone would want to be getting married at all, in my opinion, I said this is a red pill channel, let alone in the zombie apocalypse, is beyond me. Anyway, so they're together, fair enough, fair play to Rick. I wouldn't say no to Andrea myself. I wouldn't marry her, though. I'm not marrying anyone. Besides the point for this video. I initially remember her being drawn to Rick. Rick's on a mission to find Laurie, not Laurie Holden, the actress that plays Andrea. Laurie, his dreadful straying wife that's off with his so-called friend Shane. Now, Shane is actually my favourite character in The Walking Dead. However, he might be for another video. He's been covered extensively, though. Well, we'll see. Anyway, initially, when I talked about Andrea in detail, it was Andrea and Shane together. I discussed them both in the same video. I'm not going to do that here. I might never discuss Shane in a specific video. I don't approve of him hooking up with Rick's wife, Laurie. Other than that, he's my favourite character. Andrea is my second favourite character. They're my two favourite characters in the entire franchise. Shane's gone by the penultimate episode of season, the final episode of season 2, and Andrea's gone by the final episode of season 3. It's no coincidence that, in my opinion, the show went downhill after that. Although Leah, who I've covered in a previous video called The Walking Dead, Leah is a legend. Bear with me. In fact, no, I'm going to keep going. Check that video out. Leah briefly increased my interest in the show in seasons 10 and 11. However, she's short-lived. As I said, spoilers. I'm not going to keep repeating that. So anyway, in season 2, and this comes into why Andrea was written out of the show, in my opinion. I'm going to have to go and deal with this. Yeah, so as I say, Andrea, I think, is initially attracted to Rick. However, in season 2, there is a scene where she's become increasingly fed up with Dudley Do-Right himself, Rick Grimes, and the lameness of the group as they are on the farm, and she gravitates towards Shane. At this point, Shane is being shunned by Laurie because Big Daddy Rick is back, so she's back with her cuckold husband, happily impregnated with Shane's offspring. I mean, Rick's a complete cuck. It's ridiculous. Bit of a tangent here, but he is. He's been cucked by his wife. His wife is pregnant with Shane's daughter, obviously, who's Judith, later in the show. So he's a cuckold. Everybody knows he's a cuckold. And he then sets out and raises Shane's offspring. His wife immediately cheats on him without even knowing whether he's alive or dead in season 1 with his former partner, their police officers, Rick and Shane, and supposed best friend, gets pregnant by him. And Rick comes back, takes her back. She's full of excuses, as women always are. Red pill. Anyway, so Shane's been shunned by Rick. He's not happy with him, obviously. And Laurie doesn't want him anymore because Big Daddy's back. Monkey branches between the two, basically, back and forth. Great. What a great woman she is, eh? Well, she gets her comeuppance in season 4, doesn't she? Does Laurie. Anyway, so Shane, Andrea gravitates towards Shane because Shane's a more effective leader than Rick, more ruthless as well. I am talking about Shane now, only briefly. And they go on one of many supply runs and they hook up in the car. Well, good for Shane. I'd do the same thing. And look, I can understand why Andrea is drawn to Shane. He's, he's not exactly some loser, is he? He's an alpha male. He's a badass. And he would be a very appealing guy to a lot of women. And Andrea is a top caliber woman. So's Laurie Holden. Certainly in terms of attractiveness, I like to talk about... when I'm talking about movies and TV shows, if there's an attractive actress, a lot of my audience is guys, is men, right? Mostly who are straight, so like myself, obviously. Everyone's welcome, though. Although I know my audience mainly, and I see my analytics. In my opinion, Laurie Holden's a dime piece. That's a 10 out of 10. Even in her very early 40s here, that's fine. She's great. She looks the part. She gives a great performance, Laurie Holden. I'll talk a little bit more about her. So she gets with Shane. It's a one-off. Shane's not in it much longer after that. Shane's in, without realising it's self-destruct mode, he's in a no-win. Although his approach is correct, he's in a no-win. Rick is lame and the group are lame. And they're never going to go along with Shane. Andrea ultimately side. Well, I mean, Andrea's not obliged to side with Shane. Shane's on a self-destruct path, basically. It's obvious when you look at it in hindsight. He's only going to win one way. And in season 3, now at the end of season 2, Andrea gets separated from the group. And that's when she first meets Michonne. That's in the final episode of season 2. And they make their way to Woodbury, where the governor is in charge, another alpha male, an entirely different type to Shane, because for all of Shane's ruthlessness, Shane isn't really a bad guy. And Shane may have put Andrea in harm's way through his recklessness and his hot-headedness. Well, is he? And falling out with Rick and the group. He wasn't a bad guy. The governor is. Now, this is why I think Andrea was written out of the show. There are two. This is speculation. So Frank Darabont, who had worked with, so Frank Darabont was the showrunner for season 1. He was fired by season 2. Andrea was gone by season 3. Frank Darabont had worked with Laurie Holden twice previously. The Majestic, which co-stars Jim Carrey. It's a pretty good movie. I might cover that individually. And Laurie Holden is fantastic in that. Perfect for the part. And in my opinion, just seriously a beautiful actress and a really talented one. A dime piece in my opinion. And The Majestic is pretty good. Cheesy, good. I may cover it separately. And he'd also worked with her in The Mist. Now, The Mist is based on a Stephen King novella, one of my favourite Stephen King novella, and a really excellent story, The Mist. It's in his collection, Skeleton Crew, the rest of it's short stories. And she plays an Andrea type part in that. Thomas Jane plays the Rick Grimes type part. But I wouldn't have been surprised if Thomas Jane auditioned for the Rick Grimes part. Anyway, the Mist is good. You get that one for free. So he liked Laurie Holden as an actress, probably as a person as well. She seems, for a Hollywood person, like a nice person. She's an established TV actress by that point and had been in movies, extremely attractive and very talented. Now, she obviously loved the part of Andrea and was sorry how Andrea was written out of the show in the final episode of season 3, episode 16, Welcome to the Tombs. Now, Laurie Holden has said that she had an 8-season contract, and as I said, she and Rick get together in the comics. I know how she. Well, I'm not going to spoil the comics. I know how her story ends in the comics as well. So it's not the same as the show, the TV show. So one thing I know about The Walking Dead, at least earlier on, was the actors and actresses didn't know that their character was dying, right? They wouldn't know until they got the script. So apparently she was contacted and told that Andrea was being killed off in Welcome to the Tomb. So Andrea's... Okay, so I'll go back to Dale quickly. Dale is... Yeah, right. Season 2, episode 11, Dale dies. He gets bitten. They have a funeral for him in episode 12, which I barely remember. I just read that doing research. Of course, I remember how he ends. Now, Dale is basically friend-zoned by Andrea. I call him a simp, except the M in simp stands for mediocre, and there's nothing mediocre about Andrea or Laurie Holden, for that matter. He's friend-zoned, he's blue pill, he's a beta male. Even though he's older, Dale, he clearly fancies her. Like Andrea's going to get with him. She gets with Shane and then she gets with the governor. More for her. Dale's a lame character. He's a lame, pitiful beta male. Yeah, he survives. Well, he doesn't survive very far into the apocalypse, so does he? Of course he doesn't. He's soft. Don't like the character. He clearly fancies her. No chance. She's hot. She's a badass warrior chick. And she gets with, like, top dog alpha males, Shane and then the governor. As if Dale would have a chance. He would anyway. Doesn't matter. He's out of the show. Lame. Now, those are my thoughts on him. He's blatantly friend zoned. He's blue pill. He's a beta. She's not going to get with him, and she's initially drawn to Rick. I mean, Rick's lame as well in a different way, though. He's certainly not when he's blue pill. It doesn't matter anyway. Yeah, in season 3, she gets with the governor. Now, the governor is a lunatic. Now, the other thing is, Shane can kind of protect her. She can also protect herself. However, he's a lethal protector, is Shane, and so is the governor. Plus, the governor's in charge of Woodbury, and in season 3, Woodbury is much more established than the prison where Rick and his crew are. Right? I mean, that's just a nightmare situation there. All right, they're kind of fortified there. Other than that, it's overrun with walkers. There's disease there. I can't remember exactly what it is. It's cholera or something. You know, it might as well be plague. So yeah, I mean, yeah, and he's played by David Morrissey. He's an attractive, charismatic man. David Morrissey's an English actor. He's in Basic Instinct too, if you're interested. Sharon Stone's in that one as well. I think we even get to see his bare ass in this too. he's an English actor. Some of them are those types of actors. Yeah, and more for her, because in the end she realises what the governor is and tries to escape, and she makes her way back to the prison. She's within sight of the prison, and I mean, I don't know how this happens, however it's effective. She's right there. This is one of the final episodes of season 3, and Andrea's within sight of the prison. She's made it, and out of the trees leaps the governor and takes her back. And that's the end of her, except it's more dragged out than that. She's befriended the governor's scientist assistant, whose name I forget. I might put it in the description for the video. I can't remember what his name is. Anyway, so she befriends the scientist assistant to the governor, and he's a nice guy. I think he's meant to be a gay character. There's nothing romantic there. They're friends, and he's nice. He works for the governor. He's nice, though. He's also soft and weak. He wouldn't survive outside Woodbury. He also doesn't survive there because the governor deliberately kills him. So he turns and chains up Andrea in a dungeon-type cell with him in there, and that spells her end, except it's worse than that because the group drive the governor and his group out of Woodbury, find Andrea. You know, it looks like they're going to rescue her, and then she pulls her top down a little bit to reveal she's been bitten, and she's been bitten in an area where, to quote Morgan from Fear the Walking Dead, I can't amputate, because it's in this area, her chest area. So obviously she's fucked, and she has to take her own life. Michonne stays with her. Daryl's visibly very upset. I'd be very upset too. I'd be absolutely gutted, because Andrea is a great person and a great character. And I was actually pissed off as a viewer. I watched that episode when it aired in spring 2013. I remember watching it. It was on a channel called FX, if I remember rightly, here in England. And I was not happy because I liked Andrea. I liked the fact she was a badass warrior chick. She goes through loads. Her sister, as I mentioned earlier, her younger sister Amy, and then, getting separated from the group, making her way with Michonne to Woodbury, then getting out of the clutches of the absolutely evil lunatic, the governor, only to be taken back. She goes through all this, and Dale dies. She likes Dale. I think sees him as kind of a father figure. I mean, much as I think he's a lame character, she likes him. Not in a romantic way. And just turned up like that, and I was pissed off. And I think it's a waste. And this is first of all, Frank Darabont. So this is my speculation. Frank Darabont was fired. It was Frank Darabont that hired Laurie Holden. The second piece of speculation is this: I know that the lame internet geeks that are obsessed with whatever they're obsessed with didn't like the character Andrea. In fact, hated her. Just a very quick look online now will show you these lame geeks and their opinions on Andrea. They thought Andrea was a slut because they don't understand dynamics between men and women, because they're pathetic online geeks. I'll just say it, with nothing better to do than apparently send threatening messages to Laurie Holden herself. I mean, how pathetic is that? Andrea is drawn to alpha males. Rick is an alpha male. Shane is an alpha male. And so is the governor. He's an evil one. Now, this is in the apocalypse, early on in the apocalypse, when it becomes dangerous in different ways later. However, the threat level is constantly extremely high at this point. She's drawn to Rick because he's an alpha male. He's a really nice person. Obviously, he's a good-looking guy. He's charismatic. He's an appealing character. I remember her briefly being drawn. However, it's not going to happen because he's got one-itis for his cheating wife, Laurie. Then she's drawn to Shane. Shane's a bit of a loose cannon, a liability. However, again, a protector, a badass, an appealing guy. And it can protect her, and also he helps train her with firearms as she becomes effective with them, so she's more self-sufficient, self-reliant. She becomes a badass. She already is a badass with her mentality. She sticks to her guns. She's stubborn in a good way. She's just a really cool character and a cool person. And then the governor, unfortunately, it's a fatal mistake. He is also an alpha male and a badass. However, he's a lethal one in a bad way because he's evil and he doesn't protect her. He gleefully gets her killed, basically kills her. He does. That's what he does. It was. I saw it written indirectly. It's not indirectly. He basically murders her. Is what the governor does. Now, one thing I found interesting is I was doing a bit of research for this video, and I saw a list of all of Andrea's kills. Guess what? All of them were walkers. She didn't kill any living people at all. She only took out walkers. Yeah, many of them were people she'd known. Now, many of the walkers Andrea takes out were people she knew before they turned. However, she doesn't take out any people according to that list. It's all walkers. So that shows the measure of her good character. An excellent character played by an excellent actress. I noticed Laurie Holden hasn't been in anything since 2022. She was memorably in season 3 of The Boys briefly. A bit more than a cameo part. I've got a video on The Boys up on Benji 84.0, my channel. I've also previously covered The Boys. Those videos are not up now. Proved popular, I do cover The Boys on this channel and other topics too. Like I said right at the start of the video, check out all my content while you're here. If you like what you see, subscribe. So anyway, Laurie Holden, great actress, beautiful, does a great job with Andrea. Andrea, a fantastic character, sadly short-lived, very memorable. That's why I've done this 20-minute video on her. So if you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button and give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone if you think they might get something from it. I've mentioned subscribing, and when you do, ring the notification bell, comment. This is Benji on Benji 84.0. Hasta pronto.